Hey guys, so this is going to be the birth story for baby number 4. I really wanted it to be a birth vlog, but now it's kind of turning into a birth story, and I apologize for it being over a month late now because it's been super busy in the house and I don't get a lot of opportunities to be alone to tell the story. And even now I'm not going to be alone. Joseph's with me and the boys are walking around, so, and the baby's sleeping, so I got one thing on my side. But anyway, I was set to be induced on April 27th, and I do have a video explaining everything that was supposed to happen. So like the Monday I was going to go in, they were going to check how far along I was to see if I needed a catheter put in to dilate me at all. And in saying that, with the induction so it was on a Tuesday, I would have had to have a COVID test done the Friday beforehand, so that as long as it was negative, I didn't have to wear a mask in my hospital room once we got in there. So with my COVID test being on the Friday, I actually decided to take the Midwives Brew on the Wednesday before my test to try and induce labor, because I mean, it was kind of silly because I don't really know, like, if you just go into labor and go in, if they would let you not wear a mask or not sure, but I kind of wanted to try it. So on the Wednesday I took the Midwives Brew. I did the original recipe. I could not find Lemon Verbena Tea, so I subbed it out for this, the brand is Tetley, and it was this immune boosting tea, and the second ingredient in it was lemon verbena. So that means there's a lot of lemon verbena in there. And instead of having one tea bag in there, I steeped 2 tea bags in it to make the drink, just to make sure there was a lot of lemon verbena in the water. And then the only other thing that I subbed out from the recipe was I used mango nectar instead of apricot nectar, because we didn't have any apricot nectar at my grocery store. So other than that, still used castor oil, and I did use natural peanut butter instead of almond butter, because all that's in natural peanut butter is just like pureed roasted peanuts. So that's what I used. And just a quick little story of my experience with the Midwives Brew. I didn't feel any contractions until about an hour and a half to 2 hours after taking the drink, and they kind of started out slow, like period cramps, but then all of a sudden for an hour long they were mild to medium cramping every 2 to 3 minutes, and like I timed them because they started to get really close together and they were kind of growing in intensity. So I was timing them to see how long they would last and things like that, but after the hour they kind of died off. And after I drank the Midwives Brew, anytime I ate that day, I would have to go to the bathroom, and it was very loose stool or poop, but it wasn't like an hour-long ordeal or anything. It was just like kind of go in, go to the bathroom, done in less than 5 minutes and out. And that was it. Like at dinner time, so my contractions during the hour on the Wednesday were between like 1 and 2, and then when I ate at dinner they kind of ramped up while I was eating, and then afterwards like they just kind of died off again. So then the Thursday I had enough of the ingredients that I decided to do like a round 2 just to see if anything would happen. Oh, and sorry, so I was 1 centimeter dilated a week before my induction date. And so basically I think I was just 1 centimeter dilated when I took the Midwives Brew. And after the hour-long contractions and all that, I went to the bathroom just to go pee, and I noticed that I actually was losing my mucus plug and I had my bloody show. So it was obviously doing something. The Thursday I took it again just to see, since I lost my mucus plug and had my bloody show, if it would progress anymore. And again, I had a lot of contractions and things like that, but nothing stayed, basically. There was no like prolonged contractions. They were maybe an hour long, again 2 to 3 minutes, growing in intensity, and then they just stop. Friday, which is the day I was supposed to have my COVID test done, I woke up that morning with intense contractions. Like these were getting to be like medium to not severe. I wasn't crying, but I was starting to kind of like wince, like, whoa, these are pretty strong contractions. And they woke me up at 4, and they continued until 10:15, and at 10:15 they just stopped. So I was like, what the hell? But at that point, I was like, you know what? It's Friday at 4 o'clock today. I got to go have my COVID test done anyway. So I'm not going to try anything else to induce my labor since I'm already subjecting myself to the COVID test. Might as well wait for the induction now. So I'm waiting. So over the weekend, nothing happened. We just had like a final weekend with the family. Sorry, Josh is outside mowing the lawn, and I have the thing stuck to the window, so I was just watching him go by. So we had a nice like final weekend of a family of 3. Monday I went to the hospital, and I have a video of me going to the hospital to get checked. It was just like the before and after of it. All right, so today is the 26th of April, and this is kind of, I guess, where like the birth vlog starts in a way. I'm on my way right now to go to the hospital to get checked to see if they need to put a balloon in to dilate me to a 3 or 4, and then to just basically have a little checkup and see what time we have to be at the hospital tomorrow morning. I was hoping Josh would be with me today. I wanted him to drive me to this appointment, but he has an e-course for his training for work, and it's going on till like 4, I think, today. So I have to go alone. And today, like, I know there's like jitters and nerves, but like today, my back, and I don't know if it's like the baby kicking my kidneys or what, but like I just went to Shoppers because of course it's now allergy season and Josh is dying. So I went to go get some allergy medication, and I crouched down on the ground and had the biggest pain in my like middle back all the way shooting up to my shoulders. I don't know what that is, but anyway, that's really the only thing that's changed over the last week. But yeah, my induction's tomorrow, so I'm on the way to the hospital to get a little checkup done. It's also Jonathan's birthday tomorrow, so I'm trying to figure out a fun way to like kind of celebrate his birthday, but from the hospital. I don't know if we're gonna do maybe like a little scavenger hunt for him to find his present that we bought him. But of course, during this lockdown, there are no, like, you're not allowed to go shopping for toys or anything like that. Like, there's so many things that they consider non-essential right now in Ontario. It's so stupid. Like clothing is considered non-essential right now. So if we have a girl, I have no way of going to buy her clothes except for just looking online and trying to do a pickup, but they don't do returns or exchanges at the curbside. So this is going to be fun. I'm predicting it's going to be a boy, but you never know. Just the fact that we have 3 boys at home, I think that it's going to be another boy. So, but I just wanted to kind of give a little update. I will let you guys know what the doctor says after I come out of the hospital, but that's where I'm headed right now. So we'll see. All right, so I just got out of my doctor's appointment, and they did not have to put the balloon in because when she checked me, she said I was a 2, basically a 3, and then she just stretched me to a 3. So she said if she put the balloon in, it would probably just fall out. So Josh and I just have to go back tomorrow morning at 7:30 and start the process. She said she was probably just gonna break my water in the morning and then basically go from there. But I know that contractions can start really hard and fast after your water's broken, and I kind of want an epidural first. So we'll talk in the morning with the doctor and all that and see what's going on. But basically I sat on the monitor for maybe 40 minutes. The baby wasn't moving too much. The heartbeat was fine. Baby wasn't moving too much because I think he was sleeping. So the nurse had me lie on my side, and then I think he or she woke up at that point because I felt a lot of kicks and stuff. And then I don't find that cervical checks hurt so much. The only thing that I find slightly painful when they do a cervical check is when their knuckles are pushing against your pelvic bone kind of thing. But it is a bit sore down there because she was stretching the cervix out a bit. So she said, basically, I'm at 3 centimeters, 50% effaced. So we'll just go in tomorrow morning at 7:30 and go from there. And she said, obviously, come back if I have any worries about the baby, if I start having regular intense contractions or anything like that, if my water breaks, just go back tonight. But if not, then we'll be at the hospital tomorrow morning at 7:30. And I'm trying to think of what to have as my last breakfast, because I know once you're on Pitocin and epidurals and all that stuff that you're on a liquid diet. So I'm thinking a McDonald's sausage McMuffin with a hash brown, but I don't know, because I also, I've never gotten sick during labor, but if I get sick, I don't really want to throw that up. So Josh and I will have to discuss this tonight and figure out what at least my last breakfast is going to be. So anyway, nothing further really to update, except for if we have to go in tonight, I'll let you guys know. And if not, 7:30, April 27th is when we're going to start the process to have baby number 4. I'm excited. And Johnny will be super happy because he has been quite adamant and saying he's literally been praying that the baby's going to be born on his birthday. So I think he's going to get his birthday wish. So on the Tuesday, which was the day of the induction, April 27th, we were expected at the hospital for 7 a.m. I tried to pack as much as I could the day before, and then I quickly grabbed all of our toiletries that we use every day the morning of, shoved them in the suitcase, got all the treats that I made from the freezer, put them in a bag, and we packed up Josh's Rav and set out for the hospital. And I do have a video clip of us on the way to the hospital. Morning! We're on the way to the hospital. We have 9 minutes to get there. So we're definitely probably going to be a couple minutes late because you have to screen before you go into the hospital. Oh well. Our breakfast turned out to be banana chocolate chip muffins because somebody woke up late and is still not really awake. I didn't even get to finish my coffee this morning. I got up at 6 to plan to leave at like 7:05, and it's 7:21. We have to be there at 7:30, but
we didn't communicate.
Anyways, other than that, nothing really to report. It's Johnny's 6th birthday, so we gave him lots of hugs and kisses before he left. Well, we left. Joshua and I colored a happy birthday banner for Jonathan, so that way he'd feel a little bit extra special today since we're not going to be here. And then Joshua and Josh hung up the sign for him in the dining room. And then my mom's going to come over later with cupcakes and get him some pizza for dinner. And then when we get home from the hospital, we're planning on bringing home a Dairy Queen ice cream cake for him and then really celebrating his birthday the day we get home. So other than that, I did not get any contractions last night. I'm sure I am still 3 centimeters and 50% effaced. The doctor said she wanted to break my water this morning, but I want to basically walk in there and talk about getting an epidural, because in a small town you have one anesthesiologist, and if they're in surgery or anything, you are not priority. The surgery patient's priority, obviously. So I just want to figure all that stuff out and just let them know that I want to get an epidural, so to get a bag of fluids into me ASAP, and let's figure that out, step 1. But I'm not looking forward to the IV because I hate needles, but the epidural needle has never bothered me. It's more so the IV needle that I am not looking forward to. And I had a crappy night's sleep. I tossed and turned like all night and everything kept waking me up. So that's fun. So I'm sure we'll rest today. But
there ain't no rest for the wicked.
Yeah. And Josh brought his textbook to read, so he can read and study his course while I maybe take a nap today, hopefully. But anyway, we'll update you guys once we get into the hospital and settled into the room. And I don't think, is there anything you want to add? How are you feeling?
Good.
You're good. He's
Yeah,
good.
I'm a little nervous because, you know, it might hurt a little bit, but it shouldn't hurt that much.
Final guesses. Boy or girl?
Boy.
I say boy too. How much do you think it's gonna weigh?
8 pounds, 6 ounces.
I feel like this baby's gonna be close to the 9-pound mark, but only just because I feel huge. And I think it's gonna be like 20 or 21 inches long. What about you?
Oh, it'll definitely be 23 inches long.
I don't think we've ever had a baby that long. I don't even think babies come that long.
24 inches long. 25.
Okay, what's your actual guess?
I don't know. 26 centimeters.
Our babies have been anywhere between 19 and 21 inches long.
You just said that they don't think that they come in 22 inches long.
You said 23.
Or 20. There's 2 inch difference.
Yeah, there is. Hurry up, my arm's getting tired.
All right, max it out. 23 inches long.
And what time do you think?
Oh, 12:45. It's 7:25 now.
7:25 right now. It's gonna take like an hour to get everything hooked up. So it's like 8:30. I say 3 p.m.
Hey,
What do you say?
you can't hold it in.
No.
That would be breaking the rules. It's cheating.
Anyway, we'll update you guys when we get into the hospital room and all settled in. Bye. Quick update. I had my water broken like half an hour ago, and we're waiting to see if I contract on my own. If not, they're gonna put me on Pitocin. But so far everything's fine. Just trying to stay up and active, and every time I get up, more water comes out, so that's kind of weird. But other than that, just trying to figure out how I can start contracting on my own and not have to have Pitocin. Josh has to wear a mask, but because I tested negative, I don't have to.
Same household.
You keep saying that, nobody cares.
I know.
They don't care. But anyway, update later. It's like
Quarter past your mom.
9:40, and I think I've had a couple contractions. I don't know, but I just heard the nurses say that they broke my water at 8:33, so I wanted to remember that. And Josh is just lounging, and I don't know if the baby's just kicking or if I am getting like pains and cramps, but just wanted to add this tiny little update. Josh keeps forgetting that he can take his mask off when no one's in here, but there's been like someone in here pretty much the entire time since we got here at 7:40, so no big deal though. They're very chatty. I think there's only like 1 or 2 people here.
Coffee.
Oh, that really hurt. I think it's kicking me. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, not enough coffee, and I had a muffin for breakfast. So this is going to be an interesting day. And if I don't start contracting soon on my own, then they're going to put me on Pitocin. So, and I just don't think I'm mentally prepared to deal with that yet. Anyway, see you later. So from 8 to 10, I literally just kept walking around my room, and we didn't even get to do a room tour, but the room's not that big, and I literally just kept going like from one side of the bed to the other and just walking around like that for 2 hours. I did that, and I think I felt maybe 2 or 3 contractions at that point. So the breaking of the water didn't give me contractions at all, which sucked, because I really would have been happy not having to have Pitocin and having contractions on my own, because if you've had Pitocin, they are really intense and really fast. And as you'll see, because I had to now have Pitocin. So basically they called the doctor said, gave the okay to start the Pitocin, which I think started at about like 10:15, and it took until about 11 o'clock with me on Pitocin to get regular contractions of any kind. And then from 11 o'clock on, the contractions were 2 minutes apart. but they weren't really intense yet. But they start at 2 minutes apart, starting at 11. By 12 o'clock, the contractions were getting painful. I did try using a peanut ball and things like that to try to stay active during the contractions and things. The monitors weren't working when I was on the peanut ball or a yoga ball or walking around at all. I had wireless monitors and they just weren't working. So I unfortunately had to sit in bed and just deal with the contractions. I did try to sit with my legs kind of like wide open in a diamond shape, so like my feet were touching, but like my pelvis was just open, so that way I could kind of help it open up and loosen up basically as much as I could, because again, I was just stuck in the bed. So I think I lasted until about 1 o'clock, and at 1 o'clock was finally when I was like, hey, can we start talking about like the process of an epidural, because like these are getting very painful to the point that I was about to start crying and I was about to start really tensing my body with every contraction, and that's not helpful or progressive in any way, shape, or form. When you have contractions, you need to try and keep all of your muscles loose so that it can really dilate the cervix and push the baby down as much as possible. So my nurse called up to my doctor, who said, okay, check and see how dilated she is, and then we'll go from there. So they checked me and I was only 4 centimeters dilated after dealing with contractions every 2 minutes that were growing to be super, super intense. And like I said, Pitocin contractions suck because they don't just gradually like get closer together and more intense. It's just like boom, straight up, 2 minutes apart, and we're gonna start you off at like a 4 out of 10 pain. And by the time I asked for an epidural, I was at like an 8 out of 10 pain because I was about to start crying at this point. And I was really breathing through them, trying to stay on it. And again, when I asked for the epidural, I was about to kind of like lose it. I wasn't on them. I wasn't really breathing through them. I was about to just start like losing my focus and stuff. So they gave the go ahead for the epidural. And I must say, giving birth in a small town hospital, we have one anesthesiologist on like in the hospital for everybody, and he is basically just there for the surgeries and any emergencies that come in. And us on the maternity ward that are asking for epidurals are kind of like last on the priority list in a way, because if there's a surgery, he has to be there. If an emergency comes in, he or she has to be there. So we're last on the totem pole. But because of COVID, there are no day surgeries. So I was just basically combating any emergencies that came in, which there were none. So my doctor called down, anesthesiologist was up there within like 20 minutes getting things started. So I think it was like by 2 o'clock, I had my epidural, which honestly, this was my 3rd epidural, and I've seen videos of people saying that they hurt, and like, I don't know, for me, they do not hurt whatsoever. The only thing was, I told Josh beforehand, because this is what happened the 2 times before when I had epidurals, that they'd put the plastic on your back and then they would just like stick you with a numbing needle. And I don't know if both times they didn't wait for the numbingness to like work or whatever, but when they stuck the needle in to go into my spine, I would like jump because it felt like somebody was punching you in the kidney. And so I just asked Josh to remind me that to ask the anesthesiologist to just like put his hand on my back before giving me any needles so I didn't jump. So Josh remembered that. I didn't. When the anesthesiologist came in, I was just like, okay, crap, this is like gonna happen. And I totally forgot to say anything. So Josh was like, oh, hey, Kelsey, like you wanted to tell the guy to like touch your back before giving you a needle. So anyway, basically the process of the epidural was, with COVID, the nurses can't really touch you. So I had to sit up on my own, put my legs over the bed on my own, and then scooch my butt from like almost the end of the bed to like the head of the bed, basically, on my own. So I had to like scooch my butt all the way up the bed on my own. They didn't want to touch me or anything, even though I had a negative COVID test. They didn't touch me or help me, and this was through contractions every like minute to 2 minutes. So it took me like, I don't know, it felt like forever. It probably wasn't that long to get to the head of the bed. And it was tough because you're like, I just got to get there to get the epidural, to not be in pain. But this process is just so painful that I'm taking forever. So I get to the head of the bed. They put the plastic on my back. And that's when Josh mentioned, oh, hey, you know, say what you want to say to the anesthesiologist. So that's what I said. I was just like, you know, every other time they usually just stick me with a needle and all the nurses go, because like they're sticking a needle in your back and things like that. So he laughed. He was like, yeah, no problem. And like, this guy was great. He was just so chill, like nonchalant. You know, he touched my back before giving me the numbing needle, and then he touched my back before he gave me the big needle. And every other time, like, I had felt like you could feel the needle going in, you could feel pressure, things like that. This time I felt absolutely nothing, like nothing. I felt a little sting of the numbing needles, and then that was it. I didn't feel numbing, like the pressure or anything like that. I didn't feel anything until he actually like gave the no, like I felt nothing actually. Yeah, I just felt nothing. Like I didn't even feel them threading the catheter or anything. So when I was able to lie down in bed, I just kept, because like I kept feeling contractions, and I remember it working really quickly the last 2 times. So I finally asked, I was like, when is this supposed to start working? And they're like, oh no, any minute, don't worry about it. So I was like, okay, like still breathing through contractions. They just, they were kind of getting a little less, but not really all that less. So anesthesiologist leaves, I say thank you, and all of a sudden he comes running back in, and I was like, oh hey, what's up? Like, did you miss us? Because we were like the only people there. And he's like, no, I totally forgot to give you like I think he called it a bolus. So like basically the first shot of the epidural, and then the drip is just going to continue what that shot gave you. So I was like, oh, perfect. So he gave that to me, and I could feel the coldness going down my back, which was great, because all of a sudden, like after all of this, I was getting really hot. So you could feel the like coldness going down the catheter and into my back, which was great. It was like total relief. So then like 30 seconds after he gave me that, I didn't feel anything. And I was like, perfect. This is what we were missing. So after I got the epidural, I stopped feeling any pain, and I was really happy. And that was at about, I want to say between 1:30 and 2 o'clock that I finally got the epidural, and it was working and all of that. And then at the hospital, when I went in the morning, no, when they started the Pitocin, that's when they started me on liquids, like fluids. So I had a fair amount of fluids in me already at that point, but it wasn't really, I guess, enough, because I started to feel pretty sick to my stomach, and like I was going to throw up and pass out. So we dealt with that for about half an hour, I'd say, that process. Like I got a cold washcloth on the back of my neck, and I just like kind of just sat there with the like throw up bag. I didn't actually get sick. I came pretty close to passing out, but I didn't pass out. I just kept kind of breathing through it and stuff. And yeah, after about half an hour, that was it. I was fine. I was good to go.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, so by about 2:30, I was pretty stabilized, and I wasn't feeling nauseous anymore. I didn't feel like I was going to pass out anymore. And that's when we kind of just got to chill and talk and have fun. And then if you've ever had an epidural, you start to feel a little tired after you have it for a little while. And Josh was joking around with the nurse, saying how basically every time I have an epidural, I usually take a nap and then wake up and have a baby. So the nurses were kind of keeping an eye on me when I started to nap. They were kind of like, oh, okay, like maybe we should start getting things ready, which is actually what my nurse did, the nurse that was new to the labor and delivery area. When I started to just rest, or I looked like I was sleeping, but I actually wasn't sleeping, I was just resting with my eyes closed. And she brought the labor card in just in case. So, with the epidural this time, it was one of the ones that you have the button that you can top up with, which actually reminds me, when I was getting the epidural, right after getting it, I hit the top up button and the nurse was like, you shouldn't need that yet. And that's when the anesthesiologist kind of ran in and was like, oh, I forgot to give you like your bolus, which is like the first thing that you need for the epidural. So, she was kind of like, oh, that's why you're hitting the top up, because you didn't actually get the first one. So when I was resting, the nurse went and got the labor cart and just made sure that she was kind of prepped and ready. And then she went on break. And when I was resting with the epidural that they give you, because they have like, you have the top up, I don't know if they're all like this, because the first time I got an epidural was in 2013, and it was not, I didn't have a button. It was just like a catheter with a huge dose in it, and you didn't have the option to top up. And then the next time I had an epidural wasn't until 2019, and it did have the top up. So he just pinched me. Anyway, so with the top up button, they don't give you as much of an epidural, I feel, because I can feel pressure and things like that. And like, I wasn't completely numb. I could move my own legs, things like that. So it was great, because what I was doing was I was resting with my eyes closed, and I was just focusing on the contraction. Like, I could feel the pressure on my like pelvic area and my cervix and things. And I was just focusing on that and just like breathing and relaxing and just keeping in mind what it felt like it was doing. So my nurse went on break, and I was just lying there, and I was kind of talking with the other nurse that came in to relieve my nurse for her lunch break or her other break or whatever. And I would kind of talk, and then I would just go back to just like closing my eyes and focusing on the contractions and just comparing how much pressure I was feeling down there, and if it was longer, if it was, you know, not more intense because I didn't feel pain, but just if it was longer, if it felt any different. And while my nurse was on her lunch break, the pressure I was feeling on my cervix was starting to change, and I was trying to communicate that to my nurses, but they weren't, not like they weren't listening, and I don't mean like that, but they, like, I wasn't doing a great job of telling them what I thought was happening, because I really didn't know what was happening. So the girl who came in to relieve, there's another girl on the floor with her, and the two of them were in my room. They remembered us from 2 years ago when we were there with Joseph, and we were chatting and stuff like that. And the girl who was actually relieving was saying, oh, you know, there's a pattern here. We might want to start like thinking about calling the doctor down maybe, because there's a asymptomatic pattern or something like that. I don't know, I'm not a nurse, I don't know what they were calling it. And they kept standing there talking about the pattern, and all of a sudden I was like, hey guys, like, it feels really weird. Like, there's like, it feels like something in the back is moving, like the back of my cervix is moving. Like, I don't, like this one contraction that I just felt the pressure in was different from all the others. And they were like, oh, okay. And they just kept talking about the pattern. And then my nurse comes back from lunch, so they were telling her like, hey, we're seeing a pattern here. We might want to call the doctor and get her up here very shortly, because we think it might be close to pushing time. And this was at like 3:45 in the afternoon, so I had rested for, you know, about an hour to whatever, just over an hour I was resting and stuff. And then all of a sudden I was like, hey guys, no, like that feeling's back again, and it's really weird, like it's different this time, like there's like continued pressure down there. And the nurse was like, oh, okay, like I think we're gonna call the doctor. And then all of a sudden, like, I just like threw my blankets off, and the nurse turns around and she's like, oh, like there's a head there. And I was like, yeah, like I thought it felt different, you know what I mean? And so the nurse comes to the bottom of the bed, because we didn't even have like the bed taken down or anything like that. Like, I still had the bed completely together, the stirrups weren't up or anything. And I was like, yeah, I thought it kind of felt different. And then I just kind of like sat up to look down, and like boom, the baby like shot out. And the nurse was like, oh my goodness. And the nurse that I had that was new to the labor and delivery ward, she had, when she came in from her lunch break, which was like not 5 minutes before I was like, hey, this feels weird, she put her gloves on. So she was the only nurse in there that actually had gloves on at that point, because none of the others were touching me or doing anything like that. They were just like looking at the monitors and stuff. So she basically, the nurse was like, hey, you're the only one with gloves on, you have to deliver this baby and like grab it and whatnot. And so basically, as my doctor explains it, like my uterus just like ejected the baby, which I've heard happen in natural labors, like when they don't have any pain medication and they're trying not to push and their body's just pushing the baby out. And that's basically what happened this time. Although I had an epidural, my body was just pushing the baby out. And so yeah, like I felt the head come out, but because I had an epidural, I didn't know what it was. It just felt like a long continued pressure and something like moving. And then all of a sudden I felt the head come out. But again, like I said, it was just kind of like a pull, and I felt something weird down there. So that's why I shot the blankets down, and that's when the nurse was like, oh yeah, there's a head there. And like I didn't even push. Like yes, like a sit up is kind of like a push, but I literally just like lifted my head up to see if I could see anything happening down there. I don't know why I did that. And then yeah, the rest of the baby came out, and I was like, what just happened? And my doctor came in like 2 or 3 minutes after all of this happens and was like, oh, hey, like, thanks for letting me finish my clinic, like seeing all my patients for the day, and you know, giving the nurses a really great delivery, because she wasn't even there. Like 3 nurses delivered my baby, and then my doctor came in and cut the cord, like clamped it and all that stuff, and like delivered the placenta and things like that, but like she wasn't actually there for the birth. So we had no idea the gender of the baby going into this. We tried to find out, but the ultrasound didn't tell us anything. So I kept telling the nurses, like, you know, it's probably going to be a boy. If it's like, if at any time we were going to have a girl, this would be it. Like the science of having a girl. Apparently in your fertility window, you have like, I don't know, 7 days or something like that. But if you have sex at the beginning of the fertility window, or at least like 2 to 3 days before ovulation, I guess the female sperm live longer than the male sperm. So basically like the male sperm will go and they'll like swim really fast and die off. And then the female sperm like live longer, so then they can get to the egg. So as long as you don't like, if you just have sex at the beginning of your fertility window and then you don't have it again until after ovulation and all of that stuff, then the chances of you having a girl are higher. I have no idea if that is truth or myth or what, but in our case it worked and we had a girl, because we actually had sex because I was following it on my Fitbit tracker just so I knew when to expect my period, because we're doing natural family planning but not like following any kind of method. I was just tracking it because my periods are very consistent at 28 days. So basically that app helps me track it, and I track it just to see when to expect my period basically. And I also track when we have sex, so that way I would know like when we may have conceived. And going back looking, we had sex on the first day of my fertility window, and not again until a week later. So again, so we didn't have sex until after ovulation and all of that was done, and we had a girl. So I don't know if anyone's trying to have a girl, maybe try that. I have no idea if it actually works or not, because I never tracked anything else with any other pregnancy. Maybe going forward I'll try and see if that technique like works or not. I have no idea. But we're not trying to have girls, we're not trying to have boys. We're just, if a baby comes, and it's another blessing in our life. But yeah, we had a baby girl, and I kept telling the nurses, like, I'm going to be so dumbfounded and shocked because I have 3 boys at home. I'm so used to boys that this is just going to throw me for a loop. And sure enough, like it really did, because I'm not used to changing girl diapers. There's a lot more crevices that you need to watch for in changing girl diapers. I have no girl clothes at home. And actually, because we're in a lockdown right now, that the head of our province, the premier, has basically deemed that clothing is not essential, so you cannot go out to a store and buy clothing. So I'm sitting in the hospital room after having this girl, like, okay, I need to grab my phone and get some newborn outfits, because number one, this is the smallest baby Josh and I have ever had. She was 7 pounds 10 ounces. And I think Joshua was the next smallest, and he was like 7'13" or 7'15". So she was the smallest baby we've ever had. And I only had like 0 to 3 month clothing with me. Which, funny story, after getting all prepared to go to the hospital, totally forgot the diaper bag at home. So we had no diapers, no wipes, no clothing, no burp cloths, nothing with us. Totally forgot that. So she was naked for the first day. Like, I think Josh went home the next day, or later that day. I don't really remember, but we had no clothing for a while. And at that, I only brought 0 to 3 month clothing because the boys were so long that they didn't fit into newborn clothing for longer than like a week. So yeah, and then in that as well, we had no girl clothing. So it was insane. I had to order clothes online, and any first-time parents out there, any onesies, like the sleepers that you can find that have these, they're called like fold-over mittens or fold-over cuffs, and basically it has like a piece of material that folds over, so you don't have to worry about mittens. You don't have to worry about mittens falling off. You don't have to worry about them scratching their face, because the cuffs of the sleepers fold over their hands, and they're great. The place that I found them that actually went up to like a size 3 to 6 month was Old Navy. Old Navy has them for newborn, 0 to 3 and 3 to 6. There was one that had, it said 6 to 9, but they were all sold out, so I don't know if they actually had them in that size or not. But up to 6 months old, they have these fold over cuff sleepers. So I ordered a whole bunch of those like that day, the day she was born, so that way they could arrive as soon as possible. And then my brother actually and his family came up on that weekend, even though they weren't supposed to. I was okay with it. But they came up with all of my niece's old clothing for me, thank goodness. And they brought up like from size newborn to like 4T for me. And they're like, here's all of like my niece's old clothing, and you can use them, you know, obviously like I give them back as I'm done with them, as she outgrows sizes. But yeah, and then about a week or two later, my mom was actually going up and babysitting for my brother, and she went by my best friend's house, who has a daughter who's just over a year now. So she gave me all of her old clothing, but like gave it to me to keep because they're not having any more children. So I ended up getting a lot of girl clothing, thank goodness. But I did have like a few days to try and figure out clothing for our baby girl. It's still so weird to me. It's like we're going on her being 5 weeks old, and it is still so weird to me to say like I have a daughter, we have a baby girl, because like I'm just so used to boys that like, and she was so small, and I was like, I don't know how to, like, what? This is so crazy. And I kept asking the nurses, like, I think 4 times I asked them, like, well, when she came out, I looked down, and they were like handing her to me, and they were handing her like feet first. So I got like a full view of like the crotch, and I was like, that looks weird. And they're like, what? And I was like, that's like, there's no balls. They're like, yeah, you have a girl. I'm like, what? Like, what? And then like half an hour later, I'm like, are you sure you checked? Like we legit have a girl, like it's a girl? And they're like, yeah, it's a girl. And then like, I don't know, I remember taking a nap and waking up, and I'm like, is it still a girl? Like, we have a girl, that wasn't a dream, like we actually have a baby girl. They're like, yeah, Kelsey, like you have a baby girl. And but yeah, and then the nurses kept coming in and thanking me for such an eventful like delivery, because they were, I don't know, I guess like for the last few months it was just kind of monotonous for them or something, I don't know. But they earlier, like the day before, they were like, you know, I really just want like an eventful birth, like, you know, like months ago this happened, kind of like what happened to me happened to somebody else, and they were like, I wouldn't mind having something like that happen again. And then wham bang, like here I come, and baby just kind of like walks on out on her own. So yeah, that's basically the story. Her name is Jordana. So yeah, we have a baby girl, and basically she came out, she was nursing really well in the hospital, as far as I could tell. Like, she felt like she was nursing really well, and we only stayed in the hospital for 24 hours because we just really wanted to go home. We ended up FaceTiming my mom and his mom at that time in the hospital to tell them that they finally have, well, for Josh's mom, she finally has a granddaughter. She had 3 boys, and her boys at that time, before Jordana was born, like, we had 3 boys, and Josh's brother has 2 boys. So she had 5 grandsons and no granddaughters, and now she finally has a blood granddaughter. So she was so excited, and then my mom was obviously excited, but she already had a granddaughter because my brother had a girl. So this is her second granddaughter. But I think she was also really excited because, unfortunately, like with my brother being about an hour away, we don't get to see them all the time. But with my mom and I living 10 minutes apart, she does see my children a lot, and so she finally gets to see a granddaughter a lot more than she does her other granddaughter. So yeah, we stayed in the hospital for 24 hours. We left the hospital as soon as we could. So like at the 24-hour mark, they did her, they did the hearing test, they did the congenitive heart failure test, which she passed both. And then they did the bilirubin test to see if she had jaundice, which her levels were far below the line. But because Joseph got jaundice, I guess all future children that Josh and I have are apparently more susceptible to getting jaundice, and Jordana and mine's blood were not compatible, so the chances of her getting jaundice were higher just because our blood was not compatible, which is what happened with Joseph. His and my blood was not compatible, but it just like was super not compatible, and he ended up getting jaundice. So when we left on the Wednesday, we had to go back on the Friday to see if her bilirubin levels stayed low, and they did. So we were good to go, discharged, all that. Didn't have to go back for any more tests because I think her levels went up like by 10, but she was so underneath that line for jaundice that they were not worried at all whatsoever. They just said to keep an eye on it at doctor's appointments, you know, just in case she does end up getting jaundice, which she never did. I mean, she's 5 weeks old on Tuesday, and she's still good to go. But yeah, so surprise baby gender, we had a girl. So I'm really excited. I do have to say, my reservations with having a girl was that our family dynamic was going to change because we had 3 boys, and I didn't want a girl to change the way that anybody treated the boys, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people will sometimes just kind of be a little bit like, not nastier, but just like, oh my gosh, be really careful with the girl and things like that. So that is something going forward that we're going to make sure doesn't happen, because I don't want anybody treating the boys any differently, because now we have a girl. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna treat her like a little princess, but we also try to treat the boys like they're like little kings, you know what I mean? Like we treat them all with love and respect and kindness as much as we can. And Jordana's gonna be no different. She's still gonna get chores and things like that. So and I have to say, I am starting to totally embrace all of the girl clothing. I am not a huge fan of pink, just for myself. Like as a kid, I didn't like pink. Purple was my color. I didn't like pink anything, and now I'm just totally like embracing it. Like I even bought like a little outfit that has like a tutu attached to it and things like that. So we're really just embracing having a daughter and the girl clothing, and I got a few headbands and things like that. But I guess apparently, like my mom was saying and my dad was saying, like she's literally just like the spitting image of me when I was born. Like just really dark hair, things like that. My hair was longer when I was born, but like she came out with like some pretty jet black hair, and it was just like there was a lot of hair. It wasn't long, but it was just like all over her head. So yeah, we are so excited to basically see what she's gonna be like. She's already been like a pretty chill baby, like doesn't really fuss a lot, is very content, and her brothers are just like over the moon excited. I don't remember if I said on an earlier video or not, but Jonathan, like all he'd been praying for his birthday was that the baby was going to be born on his birthday and he was going to have a sister, and he got both of his birthday wishes. And now I think Joshua's kind of a little jealous because now he wants a baby born on his birthday. So the only thing that I was really sad about is missing Jonathan's birthday this year. We saw him for like maybe 5-10 minutes in the morning before we left, but because we had to be at the hospital for 7, we didn't get to see him a lot. So I was a little upset that we didn't get to see Jonathan for his birthday. We did FaceTime them a couple times during the day, but obviously after having like a baby and things like that, it does get a little hectic in the hospital room. So we didn't get to talk to him a whole lot. But when we got home on the Wednesday, we brought like a cake with us and things like that, and we celebrated his birthday the next day, and then gave him his birthday presents on, I think we waited till the weekend, but we gave him his birthday presents when things kind of settled down a bit at home. And so we got him a big giant Lego pirate ship, so we're actually going to put it together this weekend, because if you remember any other future or the earlier vlogs that I did, Josh was doing a course for the bank. So all of his spare time has been studying for this test, which he actually took yesterday and passed. So we're going to have a lot more family time together and just really enjoy all the family time we can have for now with the 3 boys and our brand new baby girl. So I do have videos done of like her first checkup and things like that, so make sure you check those out. Like I said, this is 5 weeks later, so I do apologize for it taking a little longer, but it's here, and now I will work at getting all the other birth stories done of the boys. Like I have said in some of my earlier vlogs, like the pregnancy vlogs, every pregnancy and like delivery that I've had are so different, and that's one of the main reasons that I wanted to put these up, was that like same person, you know, 4 different pregnancies, 4 different deliveries, and they are all just so different. And that's why I actually went on searching these up on YouTube, was just to see, like, remind myself of everything that could happen during labor and delivery and just prepare myself mentally for all of that. And then as I've been doing these, I have found it really fun as like a way of like keeping family treasures and doing family videos and stuff like that, of like, you know, we get to years later look back on all these videos and go like, oh yeah, that's what our family was like in 2021. And you know, so I really do want to continue doing these, not just pregnancy, but more like family adventure videos and stuff like that. So that will be on a separate playlist, but stay tuned. And we are renovating our house, so we also have a playlist for that, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, that's the birth story of Jordana, and I hope you enjoyed yourself. And if you did, hit the subscribe button to see future videos. And if you liked this video, hit the like button. If you have any questions that I didn't cover in this video pertaining to the labor and delivery, go ahead and leave a comment, and I pretty much answer almost all comments. Unless they're more like scammy comments, then I delete them. But yeah, if you have questions or anything like that, I have no problem answering your questions. So just leave them in the comments. Have a good day, guys.